Happy you could come along. We are joined, as always, by Greg Engert, beer director for the Neighborhood Restaurant Group, a James Beard Award nominee. The group includes, hard to keep up with, all the new restaurants you guys seem to be opening, but there's Red Apron, 3 locations, Merrifield, Union Market, and in Penn Quarter, and right next door, a new place, Partisan.
That's right.
Is it Partisan or The Partisan?
The Partisan.
Okay.
And actually, it just got a great review in the Washington Post.
Good.
And I think it's one of our most favorite places because obviously the food, it's Nathan Anda, who's our butcher for all Red Aprons, getting to go back to his roots and have this, and get back to cooking along with Ed Witt, who's the other chef that works with Nathan, to cook this amazing meat-forward menu there. And then it's our most, believe it or not, in some ways ambitious beverage program to date because we've got a huge wine presence, a huge spirit and cocktail presence, and a huge beer presence all under one roof.
Interesting name because there's no partisanship in the nation's capital.
No, it's not. No, not at all.
All right, well, I look forward to visiting there.
Yeah, it's cool.
It is always good to see you.
Too.
What do we have on tap this week?
So this week, you know, we just had Savor in town a couple weeks ago.
That was fun.
Garrett Oliver, who is one of my best friends in the craft beer world and one of my mentors and heroes as well, was down, got to spend a lot of time with him, which is great. We got to do a salon together, a seminar at Savor with Garrett, myself, and Peter Buchart with New Belgium, because the 3 of us brewed 3 different collaboration beers, and we presented them in a seminar about collaborations and discussed the meaning of collaboration, which was fantastic. Did a brewer's brunch where both Garrett and Peter and I spoke about some of our own beers. And so I can't get this beer out of my head and needed you to try it and to talk about it. This is from Brooklyn Brewery. They make some of the best beers around, obviously, and more and more of the kind of the cool, crazy, rare stuff is coming our way. Okay. This is the first example of that. It's called Wild Streak. Let's taste it, and then we'll talk about it. You see the heads dissipate a little bit, but you see that great lacing?
Yeah.
He is a master of bottle conditioning, so gets great champagne effervescence.
Oh, I can see enjoying that in the hammock.
Oh man!
Oh, what a great ride on the tongue there.
Yeah.
The finish, fruity.
Fruitful. Oh yeah. So this beer is crazy. So a little backstory on this. You know, Brooklyn is known for their kind of classics, right? Brooklyn Lager, EIPA, Pilsner, Brooklyn Weiss. You know, you name it. Pennant Pale. They do great cask ales. They've been making classic stuff for a long time. They did some of the first, if not the first, collaborative beers in the world with Schneider and others. But along the way, they've also been making lots of really experimental, cool stuff, using wild yeast, using barrel aging treatments. But as we all know, a lot of those things just don't yield that much beer. So a while back, Garrett tells a story kind of illustrating this, you know, where you yield like 50 cases of something. How do you decide who gets what? Especially with the amount of, the amount of Brooklyn beer that's sold all over the country and the world. You know, they just built a new brewery in Sweden. It's kind of hard to divvy that up. So a while back they said, you know what, for most of these crazy, rare, delicious bottles, we're gonna call them ghost bottles, which is what they are. And we're only gonna bring them out at the brewery for events, festivals, special beer dinners, and you can't get them otherwise. So, you know, basically didn't exist in some ways. The only one that you really saw was Black Ops, which is since 2008, has come out in very small allocations. So small, in fact, that, you know, they've always said, like, you know, this beer doesn't exist. But if it did exist, presumably it would taste like this. You were in the right place
at the right time.
Get it. So, but now, you know, they're making a huge push. Their barrel program is literally exploding. They are opening a whole new barrel house facility, Navy Pier area of Brooklyn. And so to kind of inaugurate that, they released Wild Streak. And you're going to start seeing about, I think, a quarterly release of some of these barrel-aged beauties. So what this beer is a Belgian strong blonde ale, okay? After it's fermented with Belgian yeast, which will generate some of that fruit and spice. It's aged for several months in bourbon barrels. I believe it's Woodford Reserve bourbon barrels that have previously held Black Ops. Obviously, Black Ops is an imperial stout. This beer is not dark in color. So the reason why Garrett chooses to age in these second use bourbon barrels is that it keeps the bourbon and oaky notes subdued. They don't overwhelm.
There's no overpowering
bam, you know,
bourbon.
exactly. So it's nice and elegantly integrated into the beer. And as if that, and so of course that's not enough yet. So then what he does is the beer is of course aged, it goes flat in barrel. It's bottled flat into bottle, and then they prime with champagne yeast, a little bit of sugar, and Brettanomyces lambicus. For a few more months, it naturally re-ferments in bottle, and that's why you get that beautiful ride on the tongue that you're talking about, that exquisite effervescence, beautiful aromatics, and just a little bit of a fruit-forward funk from the Brettanomyces. And I believe this is the Lambicus strain that Gerrit first got, actually, to bring it full circle, from Peter Bouckaert in New Belgium a few years back. So this was Brettanomyces wild yeast that he got and using now. So a cool beer and one that, though limited, you will see in our market.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Currently.
And Garrett Oliver, for people who are just getting into craft beer, he wrote what is considered one of the craft beer Bibles.
Two actually now.
Okay.
Well, he edited one.
I mean, I have the first one.
Yeah, Brewmaster's Table.
And it's a very easy read and explains all the different styles and brewing processes. If you're into beer and want to learn more about how it comes to be in here, it's a great book.
And that's the thing about that book that I always say. It's called The Brewmaster's Table. Obviously, it's very food-centric, but I always explain to people that it's not just about beer and food. It's a primer on production. It's a primer on styles, on flavor in general, and then it teaches you all that, and then how to apply it to beer and food. And then next he did, just recently, which is an amazing project, he was the editor for the first edition, and he's working on a second already, I'm sure, of the Oxford Companion to Beer, which is huge. And for all this, he actually, I'd be remiss in not mentioning this, just a few weeks back, won a James Beard Award for Outstanding Wine, Spirits, and Beer Professional, and he is the first craft beer guy to win a James Beard in this category. So big congratulations to him.
Yes, congratulations. It's fantastic. What would you, it seems so versatile, what would you pair this with?
Versatile, the vanilla toasted notes come through, a little bit of sweetness. So, you know, I'm thinking like all sorts of big cheeses, that little bit of funk. Think of like wash rind cheeses. It could be something as subtle as Tete de Moine, or as big as Grace de Poisse. I can see this with just straight up steak, little salt, little garlic on the grill, be amazing. Charcuterie, think of like rillettes and foie gras, that creaminess works really nicely. And then I think maybe it's because I had it for dinner last night, but cream-based like mushroom sauces. You can see like on pork medallions or something. But anything that's like kind of creamy base, you could even think of like Alfredo sauces and things like that. I think would go great with that creamy vanilla sparkle in the beer.
Wow. Greg, thank you very much as always. Everyone, please always do drink responsibly and be sure to bring your thirst next time for another beer of the week.